Girl, you know you need to call me. All right, I love you. Bye.
Hey family, welcome to Call Me When You Make It. I'm Jayla.
And I'm Tamala, and we are the mother-daughter duo that you never knew you needed.
Yes, welcome to episode 8. We hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. Thank you again for tuning in, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all of the good things. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
So last week we got into education and our educational backgrounds, and so we thought that would be a perfect segue into this week's episode, where we're really going to delve into the workforce, jobs, and career, because we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to say.
Yes.
We're going to get into, the current job market and job hunting and things like that later.
Whoa.
But first, before we get into that, we're going to kind of get into like our backgrounds and our introduction into the workforce. So, Mom, let's talk about your very first job and your introduction into the workforce.
Oh my
Give us
goodness.
kind of the rundown on that.
So, we're going to go, as they say, right now what we're going to do is go way back.
Back into time.
And we are going back, let me tell you. Because when I say that, I'm not even being funny. So, obviously, being born and raised in Sacramento, California, for those of you who don't know. Oh, hold on. She's fixing me. Sorry.
Please hold. Okay.
Oh, please hold. Thank
you. We gotta get it.
We are perfectionists here.
Okay.
So if there's any
You're on
little
camera.
whatever, we have to keep it right.
Anyway,
Thank you.
sorry.
Thank you, my dear.
Of course. Okay.
So, anyway, we have what is called Cal Expo here in Sacramento, California. So there's Cal Expo, and then at Cal Expo back in the day, when I was 14 years old, they built Water World.
Oh my gosh! Wait, that was new.
It was new.
I don't think Waterworld even exists anymore.
It doesn't.
Yeah, no.
So, some people probably are like, Waterworld, what is she talking about? Okay, so...
Yeah, that was basically like our version of like a Raging Waters, or like some kind of water park.
It had
Hurricane
water
Harbor
slides and all these, and then it had like games you could play, kind of like a small version of the fair. Yeah. Right, the California State Fair, but it was a mini version there at Waterworld where kids could play games and things like that. So anyway, they built it, and I wanted to work there. But I was 14, and I knew some older kids at my school that everybody's getting these jobs at Waterworld, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I work at Waterworld, and it was, and you could ride the slides for free, and you got all these perks, and blah, 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 and they were just talking about it, and I was 14 years old, right? And remember, if you watched the last episode, my mom didn't even want me to be in high school when I was in 9th grade, so she's like flipping out anyway now. But I was, like 14, so, I'm at high school with these kids, and I don't remember if I'm in 10th grade at this point or 9th grade, but anyway, whatever. She didn't want me to work there. So she was like, no, I had to like keep talking and talk her into it. So, because I had to get a work permit because I was 14. So I got a work permit and I got the job. So I worked at Waterworld. That was my first job. That was my first job in my life.
Oh my gosh.
Waterworld.
That's funny.
But I had so much fun at this job because a lot of kids that I knew worked there. A lot of people from school worked there. And just, of course, I made some, new friends from other schools and stuff. So it wasn't even like a job. Girl, we were not really, we weren't working hard.
Right.
Hardly working is what we were doing.
You're kids,
we were
too,
kids.
So it's like,
how hard is it to just, help somebody get onto a slide? Checking a wristband and getting on a slide. Hello.
Right.
But anyway, what's funny is, and I had to write this down because I had to think about it. I remember we were making $3.40 an hour. That's what the wage was. $3.40 an hour.
That's crazy that you still remember that too.
I remember it.
Wow.
I remember it. I do.
That's wild.
And that was a lot because if you worked at McDonald's or Burger King, you only made $3.35.
Ooh, a nickel. Like,
I'm just saying. What? I'm just saying. They made $3.35. We made $3.40.
Crazy.
Isn't that crazy? That's wild.
$3.
That $3. That was what you made.
Oh my gosh.
Sign of the times.
Okay.
Right? So that was my
That was your first job. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I did work at McDonald's for $3.35 shortly thereafter when I stopped working at Waterworld, by the way. We'll get into that in a minute.
So, for me, the funny thing is I wanted a job in high school really bad. Like, I remember, like, begging you to work really anywhere. I remember. I was like, I want to work at, like, an ice cream shop or fast food, or I just really wanted a job because for me, it was... I got tired of, like, asking you guys for money. Like, when I wanted to go to the mall with my friends or, like, little stuff like that, I was like, all right, I want to make more money than I get for, like, allowance. And, like, I don't want to have to keep asking for money. Like, I want a job. Like, I was just so ready to have a job. And honestly, looking back with that 2020 hindsight vision, I'm so glad that y'all didn't let me get a job because now being an adult and having to work... I'm just glad that, like, as a kid, I didn't have to work. Like, I'm glad that I didn't. I really am. Because my very first job was when I went off to college. I was eligible for work study, which, if you're not familiar with that, to be honest, I don't even really know how to fully describe that. If you know what that is and you can explain it better than me, please comment. But to my knowledge, is basically, like, something that you apply for and you can qualify for through FAFSA, I think. And it's like basically a job that you can get on campus. Mm-hmm. Again, there's probably a better description, but that's in a nutshell, that's what it was. So with that, I was able to look at the work study jobs that my campus offered. And there was a few different ones in like different departments, but I ended up working in my school student union. Basically at like the information or help desk. And it was like a really chill, easy breezy, fun job. I actually did that for like 2 or 3 years. Actually, I think it was like 3 years. Because then it ended up turning into, that position ended up working there and then also working the front desk at the new gym that got built at my campus. So that was my first job. I was in college. I think I was like 17, 18. I don't really remember the pay though. I want to say it was maybe like $11 an hour, maybe.
But that was good for you. It worked for you
back then I was like, wow, like this, I'm making money, like cool. But yeah, I can't really remember the wage that well. But that was like my first official job was my work study position. Okay. So that was cute. That. Yeah, it was a cute little job. After that. I feel like for me, when I was at Chapman, I worked like a couple little like random jobs here and there. Like do you remember when I worked for that food delivery place?
Gosh, I hated that job for you. I was
so you guys, if anyone ever heard of this too, please let us know. I used to work for this company called Foodie Call, which like looking back,
I hated it.
It was honestly like pretty innovative at the time because this was like pre DoorDash, pre Uber Eats. Like this was really innovative for the time.
They had the right idea.
They had the right idea because it was basically like we were open from like 10 or 11 p.m. until like 3 or 4 in the morning. And it was basically like you call us, you place an order. We had like a little office space with like snacks and drinks and all that type of stuff. And we were basically like a food delivery service. And so I did that when I was in like, I think I was a junior or something. And that was like my second job while I was in college. And yeah, you hated it because the hours were terrible.
I did not like the hours and I did not like whoever owned or ran the place. Remember, they were like shady.
I never got my last paycheck from that, by the way.
Yeah. So whoever you are out there,
you owe me my last
You
paycheck.
owe my daughter her money.
I'm
and be glad that I can know where to find you. Let's just say that.
We're just gonna end that there. But yeah, so that was a job that I worked in college too. what was your first like professional job or like your first big girl job that you got into?
Oh, you're making me go back.
Yes,
Hold on,
ma'am.
let me see. Oh, I know what it was. And I was so proud of myself. So I worked at this place called Sterling Business Forms. And it was a pretty high and big position. I was an office manager.
Okay.
So what is
Management?
funny, I applied to be their receptionist, right? So I walked in for the interview, and I was with your dad when I worked there. So I was only like, I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And I walked in, no, I might have been 19, because I might have been about 9. I was probably 19. But I walked in, and I was applying for the receptionist position. So the lady came out, and introduced herself and said, "Oh, hi, you're here for the receptionist position." I said, "Yes." So we went in, and we started doing the interview and everything. And she said, "I know you're here for the receptionist position, but, would you be interested in an office manager position? Because you seem like you have enough skills to run this. I don't know, something about you. I think you could be my office manager." Wow. And she started asking me all these questions. Can you type? How fast can you type? Like, all these other things. And I said, yes. And so she gave me something then to type, and like basically gave me a typing test.
Mm-hmm.
And because I could type real fast. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, if you want the position, it's yours. Because she said, I really, more than a receptionist, I need an office manager. Because it was a disaster. It was a wreck. Because their office manager, like, moved to, like, Oregon or something.
Oh, wow.
And so, long story short, I became their office manager. Basically, she hired me that day and said, "Can you start tomorrow?" kind of thing.
Wow.
And so that was like a huge deal. And I stayed there for a while. I stayed there until the company actually was relocating to, I said Oregon because this is where the company relocated to Medford, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
So that's why that came to mind. But the company relocated, and when they relocated, they offered me a position in Oregon. They were going to pay me, to relocate. I was like, I'm not really trying to move to Oregon.
Yeah,
Yeah. But thank you.
Yeah,
because they really, liked me.
They were really trying to keep you. Yeah,
right. And I liked working there. Yeah, but no. So that was my first professional, and they paid me pretty well for the time. I don't remember I really don't remember what I was making, but I just remember it was like kind of a big deal for me. Yeah. At the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first like big girl job, or I guess just like my first real job in the workforce, like in the real world, was after graduation. Because I told myself I wanted to take a gap year after I graduated before I like started getting into my nursing program. So I was like, I'm going to, work and go from there. And at first I kind of had a hard time trying to decide where I wanted to work because I was trying to get jobs at hospitals and stuff. Like I was trying to get just like entry level positions, but they didn't want to hire like a fresh grad. That was the problem. All the hospitals and stuff were like, no, you don't have enough experience, whatever. So, because I was really trying to be a medical receptionist, but nobody was going for it, so whatever. So then I applied for a front desk agent position at Burke Williams Day Spa in LA, and I got the job, and I actually ended up staying there for 3 years because I was at the front desk, and then I got promoted to manager. And that was like my first like big girl job where I was actually making like a decent amount of money. It had good perks. It had benefits. Like that was also the first time that I was like managing a staff and really like having a leadership position. And that was a big staff too. Because we had
you had a lot of employees.
Because we were the managers on duty. Like we oversaw the spa operations. So that's like the spa attendants, the nail techs, the massage therapists, the estheticians, it was the concierge.
I went there. I went to work. Remember I went to work with you. So I saw the setup and how everything was run And it's a lot going on. That was a lot. That was a big deal for you.
Yeah, so that was a cool, like, first time, big job. So that was like my first introduction.
Right.
And I think it set me up pretty well for like the other positions that I ended up working for too, especially, that being my first management position. And I have to shout out the original general manager that was there. She was the one who hired me. And I remember she was the one that actually encouraged me to apply for the management position because I didn't want to.
Aww.
Like, I was like, no, I'm good at the front. Like, she was like,
shout
no.
out to her. I did not know that.
No, you really did, like, again, someone seeing something in you that you don't see.
See that? Yeah.
Because without her, I wouldn't have applied. And
like
that really that was another thing that, like, really made a difference in my career and just, like, other positions that I ended up applying for because I ended up doing more management later on, and I probably wouldn't have if I had.
For where you're going.
Yeah. So shout out to you. Thank you. Love you.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, that was my first little taste of that. Getting into the job hunting and the job market and all of those different things. Job hunting to me, like, I feel like job hunting in general, it's never like a fun thing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is for you. Let me not speak for everybody. If you enjoy job hunting, please let us know.
I've never met anyone that said it was.
I've never met anyone.
I'd like to hear that story if they say it's fun.
I've never met anyone.
Please let us
it.
know.
And if you have any tips to make it more enjoyable, please let us know.
Sure, let us know.
But like for me, the thing about job hunting that is frustrating is, especially like right now, because as we all know, if you are in the workforce and you're looking for a job right now, you know the market is absolutely atrocious. And there are people who have been unemployed for years, have sent in hundreds, thousands of applications, and are just having such a hard time. So if you're in that position, I feel for you. I wish you the best of luck. You will get a job. You will get the position that is for you. But yeah, the job market right now, we all know it's horrible. And job hunting right now is horrible as well. Because I think the frustrating part about it for me, and like just this era that we're in, is like, okay, they say you're supposed to, do all these things. Like, oh, well, you should apply first thing in the morning. And you need to, find recruiters. You need to do this on LinkedIn. You need to post this. And I'm just like, but none of that really works, though. Like, I feel like all the tips and tricks that people give now, for one, everybody knows them all. So everybody's doing the same tips and tricks. They're not new anymore.
Like stand on one leg and then put your hand on your
I'm
forehead.
just like,
what?
It's just like,
I mean, come on.
It's not working. Like, it's just not working. And then the other thing is that we're also seeing that a lot of jobs are hiring from within, which companies will tell you they like to do that anyway. Like, they're more prone to promote or hire someone that's already within the company than to hire someone from the outside, which is like, okay, fine, that makes sense.
Right.
But it's just really frustrating, like, needing a job and then you have to, like, look for the job and jump through all these hoops to try to secure the job.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, with what we know about the job market now and, like, how job hunting is now, when you were applying for jobs back in your day, what was that process like? Like, how did you... Because, like, I'm thinking of, like, applying for jobs and, like, okay, you go on Indeed or you go on LinkedIn or whatever. Like, how did you apply for jobs?
Okay,
like,
so
how did you find that management position? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so first of all, once again, back in the day, back in time, there was no LinkedIn.
Right.
So let's first
the internet,
say that. There was no LinkedIn and ZipRecruit. There was none of this.
Yeah.
That's not how you found a job.
Yeah.
You looked in the newspaper. No, that's how you did it.
Yeah.
You looked in the newspaper.
That's so, because that's like such a foreign concept. It's like
who's
looking
looking
through
at
a physical...
newspaper? Do they even have a newspaper now?
I think so.
People used to
Do people put jobs in
deliver
newspapers anymore?
Deliver a newspaper, and so you look in the section.
Yeah.
And they list jobs. jobs.
And that was like the only outlet that
not the only. No, it depends on what kind of job you're looking for. But companies would list positions that they're hiring for. There were other, like if you're looking for a state job, which I have had, county jobs have their way of different. It depends on who, but private companies would list positions in the newspaper. And so I would every day, like my mom had this thing, and I loved it. This was very good to me. She would always say, when you're looking for a job, you have to make it like a job. So every day you get up and get the newspaper and you look through it and look for a job. At 8 o'clock in the morning, you get up and you look through the newspaper and you make calls. You look for the jobs and you call all of them and, put in your applications. So, and here's the thing. Because there's no internet, you're not applying on the, computer and all this kind of stuff. You fill out an actual application. You have to go to the place and fill out an application.
Yeah.
A paper application. Yeah. With a pen and apply in person. Yeah. That's how you got a job or applied for a job. So that's how we did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I applied for my position with, I'm thinking of, I can't remember if it was how it was with the state. If it had changed, I think it was a little different then, because it still was no internet when I started working for the state. You would go downtown to personnel and look and see what jobs. They had like this wall.
So they had like a physical job board.
Yes. Okay. And then you look, and then you see the jobs, and then you would fill out your application. And I can't remember if I took it back there or how I submitted it, but anyway, it got to its proper. I think you mailed it, or you could drop it off there, and then you turn it. You turn it in, and then just again a very, very old process, very outdated. That's so crazy. Something like that, along those lines, and then. They would call you and say, hey, do you want to come in for an interview? And, we got your application and you show up for the interview and that just goes from there. But that was the process.
That was the process.
Yeah. So it's a show up in person type thing. Yeah. Back then.
Yeah.
You showing up, it was like a very, but I will say the time and the turnover and all of this was faster. Like the response. Like you put in, like how everything I just told you was like this. Like I got a job, like, let's say the time from when I left Dr. Michael's and I had to find a job like this, right? So one of my positions that I had when I was working in the medical field, and the doctor that I was working for, he passed away. So obviously that was not that wasn't anything that I could foresee. So now I need a job like tomorrow. So I need to do something quickly. So I found this job, totally, completely different, field. But they were hiring, and they were doing this mass hire at the Sacramento Police Department, making way more money than I was making. And I was making good money for this doctor. But someone told me about it. And I went and I applied for it, and I got the job like this. So that was, it was quick. It was fast.
That's so interesting, too, because it's like the opposite now. Like, even though to apply and to like look for jobs is so quick, because like we have the internet, we have all these different apps and stuff, so you can apply for like
and
a
I
bunch
applied
of
in
jobs.
person.
But it's like
I drove my car downtown and filled out the application, turned it in, And they called me, like, literally, they called me days later.
That's crazy.
And said, hey, we're going to do remember I told you that was my first panel interview.
Oh, yeah.
I had a panel interview for that position. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they called me in a few days later.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's because I feel like
But I'm
jobs,
sorry I cut you off about what you were saying.
That's okay. It's like the sense of urgency with jobs these days, obviously not with all, but like I just feel like the attitude of like the sense of urgency just is not there these days.
Right.
Like jobs will ghost you. They'll take like weeks and weeks to respond. Like there's been times where I applied for jobs and I forgot about them, and then they'll reach out like months later, and I'm like, at this point, I don't even want the job anymore. Like
you're like, I forgot about this position.
Yeah, like it's
like,
so that's really
serious?
that's funny that was the case, because it's like obviously it was a much slower
faster.
process to apply, and there was more steps.
Yeah,
because you couldn't do anything on the internet.
Right,
but the fact that they were like quicker with the response time is
like
wild.
they were fast. Yeah, I don't remember having this big long waiting period.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like that's a thing. Obviously not with all companies, but I just feel like a lot of people experience that now. I've experienced that.
For sure, I have.
There's been some jobs where it was like I got responded to pretty quickly, but then there's been some jobs where I'm like, it's been months, and then like now all of a sudden, like you're interested. It's just that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But speaking of interviews, because when you said panel interview, that reminded me of like a little story time, because I feel like when you would interview for jobs, like, do you feel like you were always good at interviewing? Did you have anything that you did to prepare you for interviews, or like what were the interview processes like for you?
So it's interesting that you ask that. I always did well at interviews. I always felt like if I make it to the interview process, I'm going to get that job.
That's how I am too. Yeah.
And here's the shout out again to Mr. Moore. Mm-hmm. Because the reason I felt like I was so confident and so strong at my interviews and with my interview skills was because of that speech and debate class that I had.
Oh,
he helped me because when I walked in to that panel interview, okay, initially I was like, oh, this is a panel here. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just, shook it off and I said, okay, I'm ready. What you got? Mm-hmm. So, most people would, and I was like, okay. And, they kept coming. And I was like, boom, boom, boom. And the lady, when we were leaving, she was behind me. She said, wow. She said, you nailed that. And I said, thank you. But that was my first. She said, have you had and then another lady said, have you had a panel interview before? She said, you were pretty good. And I said, thank you. I said, no, this was my first. She said, wow, we would never have known that. Mm-hmm. So that told me I did, So I was like, I got this.
Yeah. And panel interviews are hard.
They are difficult. So, but I was impressed with myself by the feedback. They don't usually say anything to me. But these two ladies said something. Mm-hmm. And so then when I got in the car, I was like, yes. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I think I got it.
Yeah.
And so, again, like I said, if I make it to the interview, I feel like I got it. Because I'm not going to be nervous or a disaster when I get to that part. Mm-hmm. When people are usually the opposite. They're like, oh, dreading the interview and all that. Mm-hmm. That's usually the norm for most people that I talk to. Mm-hmm. But I'm the opposite. And again, I attribute that to my speech and debate class. Yeah, it helped me so much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I feel the same way, because I feel like if I get the interview, I got the job. Like I need you. Funny. I need you to just give me the chance to let me get in front of you and answer the questions, and I'm in there. Like 9 times out of 10, I get the job. And I remember, this actually reminds me of after graduation, when I was applying for jobs before I started working at Burke. Mm-hmm. I had applied for this medical receptionist position for this surgeon in Beverly Hills. And I interviewed with her in person, and she loved me, but she straight up told me, she was like, you need a little bit more experience. She was like, otherwise I would have hired you like on the spot. And I was kind of, at the time I was irritated because I'm like, I mean, you see on my resume the experience I had. You could have just not interviewed me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was kind of irritated, but
You're like, why did you call me here?
Right. But I was just like,
That's
okay.
annoying.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, 9 times out of 10, if I get the interview, I'm getting the job. And what I attribute that to for me was the pageant that I did.
I was wondering if you were going to say that.
Yeah. So, fun fact, back when I was 15, I was actually in a pageant, and it was the National American Miss pageant. That was the name. And it was basically a pageant for just like young women. It was kind of a non-traditional pageant in a sense because there was no swimsuit competition, and the talent portion was optional. So it was mainly you're being judged on like your poise, your presence. The interview was a lot of points, and some other factors and stuff. And I placed top 10, so I did pretty good.
Well,
what?
No, you didn't just place top 10. Do you remember your place? You forgot?
I was called last, so I was 10th.
No.
Yes, I was.
I don't remember that's what it was.
Girl, I was called last because I remember we were up there on stage, and my heart was beating. They called all 9 of the girls, and then when they called the last, and that's why we freaked out so bad, because I was the last one called. But we weren't ranked. That's why.
I don't know.
So it wasn't like I was 10th, but it was like I wasn't in the court with like runner-up, second runner-up, and the winner and all that.
I gotta look at the tape again.
I was called last.
Anyway,
I remember being
called
last.
She was up there with the winners.
But anyways,
she was high.
Anyway,
your brother escorted you. That was so cute.
That was very cute. That pageant was actually a really good experience, and I do attribute like my interview skills and just like poise, confidence, things like that to that, because it really helped with all of that. And the interview portion specifically was really helpful because the way it was set up was we went into a room, and let's say, I don't remember how many judges there were, but let's say there was like 5 judges inside the room, and they were each set up at like a little station. So you had to go to each station. It was timed, and each judge would ask you a question. And you had like, I don't know, let's say 30 seconds or a minute to answer the question. And so it was all about like, how you prepared for it and what you can get out in that set amount of time. And then you had to like make your way through until the very end. And then you were getting judged on each answer to the question. And so I feel like that it helped me with answering a question like succinctly, because that can be a problem. Like, so I feel like, especially with a job interview, if you're answering, going all around the question, and you can't be like succinct with your answer, I feel like that's not good. Cause like, you don't want like some super long-winded interview. You know what I'm saying? Like, get to the point. So I felt like it helped me, the timing of it helped me be really, really succinct, like give just a quicker answer. Okay. And then also it helped with getting my thoughts together first. Like, think before you speak. Don't just start rambling. Like, really, get your answer together. Stay on point with your answer. And then also just like the confidence, because we didn't know the questions ahead of time. You had to like think on your feet. So it's like whatever question you get hit with, answer it confidently. And even if you're like, that's a hard question, or like, I don't really know how to answer that, just knowing how to like express that. And I feel like that, along with job interviews, it's helped me even with stuff like this, like being able to speak on camera and like doing any kind of hosting, camera, media work. I pull from that experience a lot because I feel like it helped me kind of build that muscle. So
look, those that say pageants are not good and things like that, that could be not true, because yeah. And one of the things, so for me as a mother, I wasn't some pageant mom or anything like that, but one of the things I would never do as a mom is allow my child to be parading across the stage in some swimsuit. So that was one of the things that I knew about this pageant that they did not do.
Different, yeah.
Because I would not have allowed that. So this was a different type of pageant, just like you were saying. So yeah, I like that they did that.
Yeah.
You know,
that was a really good experience.
Look that you're still pulling from that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that was a really good experience.
Yeah.
So moving from the interview process, okay, we land the job, great. But sometimes we get fired from the job.
Oh my goodness.
So let's get into
don't even get me started.
Some quick story times. Because this is something that I've talked about on TikTok. I've talked about this on Instagram a little bit.
I should make a TikTok about it.
But please.
About this person.
But basically, I wanted to talk about my story of getting fired from my last job because I just feel like it's important to share. And obviously, like, I want to be transparent with you guys. And it was just such an interesting story. So let's just get into it, okay? I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible so that it's not like this super long story. And I also talked about this on my TikTok, so you can also catch that version. But basically, back in 2023, I was freelancing and I was like, you know, really trying to get my footing in entertainment. But unfortunately, that's also when the strikes happened. In Hollywood and the writer's strike and everything. So the timing of that wasn't great. And I was like, okay, I need to hurry up and get a job. So I basically took this job out of desperation because it was like, I got to pay rent. I got to pay bills. Like, it is what it is. Let's just go back to what we know, which is the medical field. So I applied for this position. And at first I was really excited because even though I didn't want to go back into medicine, I was excited that one, the job was like around the corner from my house. Two, the pay was like the most I had ever made at that point. And three, it was like a small office. I was going to be the office manager, like the practice manager. It just seemed like a really good opportunity. But I didn't know that I would be dealing with the boss that I was dealing with. And it's crazy because when I went in, I was warned by co-workers that, you know, he was difficult, he was hard to deal with, people quit because they couldn't deal with it, blah 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 blah. And I was like, I'm good, like, I've worked with doctors before, I can deal with, you know, difficult personalities, it's no problem. No, like, I was so anxious going into that job every day. Like, every day my stomach hurt because I was just anxious. Like, going in was just like, stomach was in knots because I'm just like, what's he gonna be like today? Is he gonna be pleasant today? Crazy. Or is he gonna come in a bad mood? Is he gonna be yelling and cussing somebody out? Or is he okay? Like, it was a lot of like just very like volatile behavior, right?
This is terrible.
Anyway, long story short, I'm dealing with, and there's so much more that I could say, but it's like I don't even want to get into all the details, and I don't even care to like give it more energy, right? But just know it was not a good work environment. Loved my coworkers, shout out to them. Half of them are gone at this point, but it just wasn't.
Let's pray for them if they're still there, poor things.
Okay,
dealing with this.
You will get out soon. Okay,
I almost said a not nice word.
Listen,
dealing with this person.
Listen. So anyway, loved my coworkers. They were great. We were what kept each other going there because it was horrible. So anyway, I had been looking for jobs like the whole time I was there. Basically, I was like, I need to get out. And I was doing interviews during my lunch break. I would be like on the phone doing Zoom calls. Like, I would literally be doing interviews like in between. Anyway, so I'm doing all of this because I'm like, I know I don't want to stay here, but again, it's out of survival. Just to end up getting fired one day, super blindsided, super unexpected. Mind you, I had never gotten any kind of warning, write-up, email, text, call, any kind of discussion saying that there was anything wrong with my performance, that I had done anything wrong. Like, there was nothing. So, my personal theory with this is that I just don't think he wanted to pay me what I was asking for anymore, and he felt that he could hire someone
And
pay them less. Which, because what also happened was when I got hired, the job that I was doing was like the job of 3 or 4 people. And so I had told him, I was like, I need an assistant. There's just no way. Like, I am one person. We only have 8 hours here a day. There's no way that I can do all of this by myself. I'm going to lose my mind. So finally, he let me go through the hiring process and hire an assistant. And so she came on board and she was very helpful. And I was like, okay, perfect. I think this is doable.
Right.
When I got my assistant, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I think I can actually tolerate this until I get to the next job.
And that's basically when he fired you,
and that
right?
was when I literally, as soon as things started getting
that made
good,
no sense.
But that's why I'm saying I think he did that, because he was like, oh, no. Like, I'm paying 2 of them when I could just pay this one less.
Right.
You gotta go.
Right.
So
that's what I said. That
because
made no sense.
she was getting paid less than I was because she was an assistant. And so what ended up happening was I got fired, and so now you're having her do her job plus everything I was doing, but you're paying her the assistant pay.
Right.
Like, I clocked that. Like, you know
so
what I'm
he's
saying?
like, I'm just gonna make her do all your
everything.
stuff.
And that's exactly
and
what
less.
kept happening, was like, he kept hiring these managers that would come in, they have to do all this work, but you don't want to pay them. Mm-hmm. But then you're gonna fire me.
Yeah, that's what he did.
And lie and say that it was because of my performance. How much do you want to make
a bet she's doing what you used to? Or
no, 1,000,000%. She had to. There was no one else in the office that was able to do what I was doing.
Yeah, and she's stressed to the max. If she's
I
still
hope
there,
you left. I really do.
If she's still there,
yeah.
I hope she left too.
I really do. But so I'm saying all that to say, that experience was wild because, like I said, I had never even had any kind of like disciplinary action at a job, let alone being fired. That was my first time being fired. But it was honestly the best thing that could have ever happened.
Blessing in disguise.
It was a huge blessing in disguise, divine timing, divine orchestration, all the things. Because now, you know, sitting here now, even doing this podcast, like, I know I wouldn't be doing any of the things that I'm doing right now.
That is true.
If I didn't get fired.
That's true.
So I just wanted to share that story. Just as a little quick story time and just a moment of transparency, and just to also encourage you that, you know, if you get laid off, because I know layoffs are a big thing right now too, but if you get laid off, if you've gotten fired, if you're having a hard time finding a job, if you're unemployed, if you're, you know, on unemployment, whatever the case may be, I've been through that as well, because after I got fired, I absolutely filed for unemployment. What? Like, yeah. So if you're going through any of those things, just know you're not alone. It's not the end all be all. It's not the end of the road. I know it's difficult. You know, looking for jobs right now is hard. Being unemployed is hard. But just keep at it. Keep going. And keep pushing for the job, the career, the dream that you want. That's the biggest thing. So, anyway, I got a little fired up because that...
It's okay.
Because that story was just...
Still a little emotional about
just it. Just a little. I'm cool about it.
It's I understand.
I'm cool about it. It's just, it still frustrates
about it
me. Because of how it happened.
The way
that it was done.
The way that it was done. It's like this. It's the principle of the thing.
Yeah.
Because
the way
I'm
that
not
it was
gonna
done
lie,
was crazy.
I still am pissed off about it.
Yeah. But then again, at the end of the day...
But it's like, you know what? Go ahead.
I was going to say, but at the end of the day, though, what makes me not so pissed off about it is that that's what corporations and businesses do, though. Like, they don't want you or they don't want to pay you or whatever... And again, California is an at-will state, too. Mm-hmm. So these companies, when they fire you or they lay you off...
They can do that.
They are sleeping very well. They don't care. So it's like...
That's a risk you take when you work for them.
Yeah. And so...
Honestly.
So what makes me not as upset about it is just knowing you have to treat these jobs like they would treat you. So like the same way that he just fired me and wouldn't lose a wink of sleep... You kind of have to have that attitude with these jobs. Like, do what's best for you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also what makes me mad, though, is that I was like, I wanted to be the one to quit. I wish I could have quit and left him high and dry than getting fired.
No, because then you can't get unemployment.
Exactly. So it all works out. It all works out.
Don't quit because you don't get unemployment. If you do that, let them fire you.
And you know what's crazy, though, too, is that I had said... I feel like I manifested being fired, to be honest with you, because I had told my coworker multiple times, I was like, I wish he would just fire me so that I could just get unemployment and be free.
See,
and God said, oh,
here you go.
Okay.
Here we are today.
So there's that.
Alrighty.
So that was just my little story, but again, just some encouragement too, because I know that the job market is wild.
Horrible.
But things are going to turn around. Things are going to get better.
Yeah.
So with that being said, getting into future career goals, future manifestations, what we're wanting now. I kind of just wanted to like end the episode off with that. How are you feeling like about current career and like what you want to do?
So for me, I have always wanted to be in the real estate field. You know, real estate is something that has always piqued my interest.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm pursuing now. Yeah. That's just something that, you know, for a long time, for one reason or another, it was just never a good time, and I decided it's a good time.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Now is the time.
Right.
So, yeah, that is what I am doing.
And I feel like you're going to be so good at that, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can't y'all
see her? Don't y'all want her to sell you a house? Like, come on.
Call me. I'll let you know when I'm done.
When she's done, right, and you want a house,
I will let
her know. Yeah. No, I love that. I'm excited for you to delve into that, because I feel like you're going to be great at that.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
Yes.
It's so funny because when I think about like future career like goals and just the different things I want to do, there's like so much that I want to do, but to kind of like wrap it up, I think if you've been watching these episodes and like my personal social media for a while now, you probably know that I want to be a host, and I've always wanted to have like my own TV show, some kind of platform where I'm hosting something of my own, and I feel like this is what this is right now. So being able to co-host this podcast is like part of that.
I mean,
like, I feel like
this
I'm doing
is what
it.
this is it. Now,
this is what I.
Now she just said something about me with real estate. Now that is what you were born to do, if you ask me. Like you, wait a minute, hold on. Here we go with the stories. Wait,
oh no,
no, you guys don't understand. So we had this video camera.
I knew you were gonna say that.
We had a video camera, and ever since she was a little girl, she would get the video camera and walk through our house. We had an upstairs, downstairs, and her friends would come over. Well, one in particular, I won't name her. She knows who I'm talking about, and they would go through the house playing. What did you guys call it?
We used to do MTV Cribs.
MTV Cribs, and they're going around, and she's the hostess, and she's doing this thing, and she's
we have
talking
to find that footage. You have that still?
I have it. We
need to find it.
All those tapes.
I need to see those.
It's hilarious. Jayla has always been in front of a microphone, in front of a camera.
On camera.
She's hosting something, and she's just always been that child.
Yeah.
So that's why I said born. She always had that personality since she was a little girl.
That's so
funny. So I always knew she's going to do something in front of a camera. She was always making up stuff with her friends, and it's just so cute. So when you tell this story, I'm like, it's just it's a natural thing for you to want to do.
And it's so funny too, because when I think back, to those times, because I was probably like, I would say when I was like 5, that's when I knew like I want to do something in entertainment, because I've always loved music. I've always loved, movies and TV, and I was always kind of like enamored with like celebrities and stuff. Not so much like the whole celebrity like worship thing, but just I just thought they were interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, we don't.
And of course,
worship
I had
them. We just admire what they do.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I was never that, but it was just like I was always like kind of fascinated with like celebrity culture and stuff like that as a kid. But so I knew I wanted to do something in entertainment, but I just didn't know what. Because I was like, well, is it modeling? Is it acting? Do I want to be a singer? Like, remember when I wanted to be like a singer for a minute? Like, it was just like different stuff. I was trying to find out what exactly in entertainment do I want to do. And then as I got older and I got into school and like academics and college and all of that was the main focus, I kind of like let entertainment fall by the wayside because I was just like, I don't have time for it anymore. Like, I'm just not able to focus on that right now. So it wasn't until after college, after I had been in the workforce, where I was actually able to be like, I really want to do entertainment. Like, I've been wanting to do this forever, but I never really gave myself the chance to explore it. And because of school, I never gave myself like a fair shot to get into it. And I was never in a field that let me explore it either. Like, I was doing medicine, you know what I mean? Like, I have a health sciences degree, so it wasn't like I was in school for any of that either. But it's always been there. I've just always known that I want to be in front of a camera. Because, just like you said, that when that camcorder would come out, I'm right in front of it. Like,
she'll be like, hi, I'm Jayla. And if her brother was, and this is my brother. And she would just start she would just work, just work the camera. She would just, it's just, don't turn the camera on because Jayla is going to jump in front of it and start going. And then it was so cute.
Me and my brother we used to pretend we were like doing a Food Network show. We would be cooking. We would do that.
So cute.
And then the MTV Cribs thing was hilarious. Like, we have to find that footage.
That was so funny.
We would start at the front door and do the whole tour of the house. And we were I just always wanted to be in front of the camera doing something. So now I feel like nothing's changed. Like, I still just want to be in front of the camera. And that's the thing too, is that it's not even like there's a specific on camera thing that I want to do. I'm pretty open because I'm like, obviously we have our pod. I love this.
Right.
And I would also, like I've said in the past, I'm like, I would do, hosting a TV show, doing red carpet interviews, correspondent. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the possibilities are endless when it comes to like entertainment and this type of a position. So we'll see what happens. I know that, for somebody like me who doesn't have like the professional entertainment experience, my journey is very like kind of all over the place. And it's like, speaking right here, right now, like, I don't know when my like hosting gigs, I don't know how I'm going to find those or what's going to happen. Like, who knows what will happen between now and the end of the year or whatever. But I just know that whatever I end up doing in entertainment, I will be a host and an on-camera personality, and whatever I'm doing and talking about, I want it to have a positive impact on people. I don't want it to be anything negative. I want it to be positive. And that's really the gist. Like,
you'll be amazing at it. I feel like you'll be amazing at it.
Thank you.
Whatever.
So one day, I hope I can come back to this episode and be like,
"Oh,
I did that," So yeah. So
I think putting it out there into the atmosphere. Yes.
Pray about it, manifest it.
Yes.
And that's it.
Amen.
So I think that wraps up today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to episode 8.
Thank you.
And please be sure to subscribe. Please be sure to like this video if you like this video.
And comment.
Please comment. Also, remember, if you have any topics that you want us to talk about that we haven't talked about yet, you need advice on something, whatever the case is, please reach out to us. You can leave us a comment, DM, email, whatever works best for you. Be sure to turn on your post notifications because we do post every single Sunday, so you don't want to miss an episode. And tune in for episode 9 next week.
Tell your friends, tell your family.
Please.
And see you next time.
Please. Until next time. Cheers.